Hey, whoa. Oh, yo, 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 yo. Oh, yo. I came up from the struggle, now we stacking chips. Black Wall Street, we rebuilding from the pits. Politics and business, we beyond rich. Donnie Glover Show, watch her shift the switch. Donnie Glover Show by BMOnews.com. Spotlight on the hustle where the real ones come. Every episode, dropping knowledge, dropping bombs. Donnie Glover Show by BMOnews.com. Talking black excellence, ain't no exclusivity. History is making, reclaiming our divinity. Break by break, rebuilding our community. Donnie Glover Show, celebrate unity. Donnie Glover Show by BMOnews.com. Spotlight on the hustle where the real ones come. Every episode, dropping knowledge, dropping bombs. Donnie Glover Show by BMOnews.com. From the boardroom to the streets, we making waves. Business minds running, new paths paved. Politicians listen, they know we are brave. Black Wall Street dreams rising from the grave. Donnie Glover Show by BMOnews.com.
All right, top of the morning to you. Got our main man, Mr. Bob DeShiel, on the line. How you doing, Mr. DeShiel?
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Man, I'm glad to be in the land of the living. Thank you, Lord.
Indeed. Indeed. We are all blessed beyond measure.
How was your weekend?
Weekend. What days does that include now? No, it was good.
Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday.
Friday ships didn't have any crabs, so that was a bummer. Saturday and Sunday, I don't remember exactly what I did. Oh, I worked Saturday, and yesterday I think I just hung around. So the weekend was fine. It was nothing extraordinary.
Okay, well, what happened to the crabs, man? That's an urgent matter.
And 2 weeks in a row, the weather coming across the country, I'm not sure what their source is, but wherever their source is, was not able to deliver anything for the last couple of weeks. So it was a bummer. I mean, you know my Friday night crab ritual. So I haven't been able to have it for 2 weeks now. So I'm really out of sorts, to be honest with you.
So I did see about the hurricanes across the country, Oklahoma, Arkansas. I didn't know.
Yeah, again, I don't know exactly. I suspect that they get a lot of their product from Louisiana, and somehow that was probably affected by it. But Mr. Haney knows more about crabs than I do, so I see.
What happened to the crabs, Mike?
Are we talking crab meat or crabs? I've never had crabs before.
We're talking about ship's crabs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I want you to know, Michael Haney, people do watch this show, and they do tell me about you.
Yeah, I know, man. First of all, good morning, Donnie. Thanks for having me, Bob. Always a pleasure. You know, the hurricanes and the tornadoes hit the South, so it had a effect on a lot of commerce and even people movement throughout the country. And so my suspicion is that that's what happened in the supply chain, is the vicious weather patterns. I know Baltimore's expecting up to 50-mile-an-hour winds, and in the South, they're just getting devastated with tornadoes.
Mike, do you ever say, I don't know?
I don't know.
You knew that was coming. But I would say this: that's to get beyond the crab scene. I would say that there's no tornado, there's no weather, there's nothing as devastating happening anywhere in the world as what we see emanating out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Matter of fact, some people say that that Elon Musk and what he's doing up in space has an effect on the weather. So maybe there's a correlation between what's happening from a climate control perspective, because we know Donald Trump doesn't give a darn about environment. He said that. And to some good point when it comes to the energy efficiency of the U.S. and drilling, maybe all of it has some anomaly to it, Bob.
Irvin Reed, welcome to the show.
Thank you, my good brothers. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How are you?
Wildcat.
Doing good. There you go.
Mr. DeShield, both of these cats went to Northwestern High School.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that was they went to an upwardly mobile, went to school in an upwardly mobile part of Baltimore, Northwest Baltimore. As a matter of fact, Sheila Dixon went to Northwestern.
As did Dr. Z.
And Catherine Pugh.
Okay.
Judge Michael Lee. Irvin Reed. Irvin was a consummate wrestler. Irvin was a MSA. Irvin was unbelievable wrestler at Northwestern. I'm talking about, sport changing wrestler. And when I finally put it together after he and I had been on a few of Donnie's shows, who this was, because I looked up to him. He came out before I did. But this guy was, oh my God, man. Ooh.
Irvin, did you go to Morgan?
Michael, you can. No, I went to Bowie.
Okay,
yeah,
I wondered if you knew.
To 81.
I wonder if you knew another wrestler, a guy named John Bullock, who was a CIAA wrestling champ out of Morgan when I was there. But that was several years before
yeah,
we're
in the
arrival.
70s. We're in the 70s. We're not quite back to the 50s yet.
Were you at Morgan with John Sykes?
I don't remember the name now.
What year? What year? He came out. Him and Kirk Smoke went to the city together. Whatever year that was.
Well, see, I'm from the Eastern Shore, so I didn't know any of those people before I got to Baltimore.
Okay.
You from there? Right. Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass are both from.
That's correct. That is correct.
You're not saying Robert went to school with them, are you?
not at all. Actually, I was thinking about the unique history of blacks on the Eastern Shore that many of us in Baltimore know nothing about. Is that correct, Mr. DeShield?
That is correct. In fact, there are many who grew up on the Eastern Shore that really know nothing or knew nothing about the history of black folk there, other than the fact that that Princess Anne, about 13 miles outside of Salisbury, reportedly was the site of the last recorded lynching.
Now,
well, didn't Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, didn't they kind of elicit from the Eastern Shore?
Oh yeah. But I'm saying, no, I was just saying that there's a lot of the history about the Eastern Shore that we didn't know about. And wasn't taught even in the all-black school system that I graduated from.
I know they had to get H. Rap Brown out of the Eastern Shore, and they put him in a casket.
Yeah, yes, that is true. That is true.
All right, so let's just go straight to the jugular. What's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
Well, I guess I'll start because the real question is what's not happening there. I mean, I guess the most what I find most disturbing is not what he's doing, but but the response to what he's doing, and by the so-called Democratic Party. I'll be quite honest with you. I keep getting this flood of emails from AOC and all of these people. Let's suppose he's an attack on the middle class, an attack on working people, but nobody said who the primary target is. Not even AOC says recognize that he's an attack, that the attack on black people. And there's the deportation of the physician, the deportation. The most recent, there was a Muslim physician, a female physician, apparently from Lebanon, who's on the faculty at the Brown University Medical School, and gone to Lebanon for 2 weeks to visit her parents, and came back. And when she arrived at Boston, was seized by ICE and deported, even though she was a member of the faculty, had gotten a medical degree actually at the Ohio State University, and according to the article I read, was possessed a permanent residency card, but was deported nevertheless, apparently because she was Muslim. So I mean and then of course his efforts to become his defiance of the judge's order with respect to the so-called members of the Venezuelan gang. The judge, DC judge, I forget his name, but apparently issued an order, apparently part of it verbal, that directed that the planes carrying these folks be turned around because the law under which Trump presumably acted was totally inapplicable to the situation. But Trump people said apparently that they decided to ignore the judge's order and completely. So he's King Trump. I mean, and more I see the reports, the polls that show even among his most ardent supporters, both those in politics and ordinary folks, are beginning to wonder if they did the right thing now. It's a little buyer's remorse, I think. And my only response to that is, as an old farm boy as I am, I know chickens come home to roost. So be careful what you pray for. That's my take.
Still glad you voted for him, Michael Haney?
I didn't vote for Donald Trump this time, man. Matter of fact, I didn't vote for him last time, but I'm not going to feed into your comment. So, and I appreciate, Donnie, the fact that you're not like Roland Martin and some of these other vultures and creatures out here that are trying to benefit economically as a result of what's happening by creating and perpetrating a fraud with some of these platforms that seemingly, okay, black men get together and, Roland Martin's platform continues to grow. So I'm speak truth to power. So what does power look like in the black community? You know what I'm saying? For real. Are we seeing anything happen that we weren't expecting? So what about 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? Or what about Sandtown, Harlem, Houston, and places in our communities around the country, and what we're doing? That's what I am in awe of, that we could be doing more to solidify our economic base, but we're sitting here watching this movie occur that we knew. Why am I surprised at what's happening in 1600? So all of a sudden, to what Bob said, Chuck Schumer and the white geriatrics team aligned with Trump on the Democratic side, because believe me, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
They eat at the same places, they live in the same community, and then we get hoodwinked thinking that we got to put skin in that game, right? So Chuck Schumer said, let's support and keep the government open, setting Donald Trump up to. So what did Donald Trump do immediately after he got the okay to keep the government open on Friday? He begun to systemically shut shit down, right? Because Chuck set him up. And who's the enemy here? 1600? Or what's Chuck's address? What's Nancy Pelosi's address? Hey, they even paid for Hakeem Jeffries. What's his address? And we're wondering what happens at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Erwin, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I agree with Mike that he said what he was going to do, and he's doing it. And we don't seem to have a plan for what it is that we want to do in the future. And, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, and we still don't have a plan. And so, I mean, it is what it is, but hopefully Trump will be so bad that, that the Republicans will lose. I don't know if the Democrats can beat anyone, but the Republicans can lose the next time around. But he's doing what he said he was going to do.
And we will forever be lost as long as we keep vesting or repositing our hope in the so-called Democratic Party. I mean, I've said all along, and Michael just said, they have much more in common than there are differences. And the most important thing that they have in common is that neither one has us as a priority. Period. And that's never going to change.
Okay, well, what happened to when we had the Mississippi Democratic Freedom Club, Fannie Lou Hamer? Did that take off the ground? Were we ever able to get a third party going?
Well, Donnie, first of all, I like to remind, life is a motion picture. It's not a series of still shots. So what was the thing at that time is not necessarily the thing today. So I say that because I don't want to criticize the efforts of any of our ancestors, any of the people that have come before us who faced the obstacles of that time as best they understood them and as best they could, given what they believed to be their resources. But the fact of the matter is, we don't really need a third party. All we need is to take the Joe Lieberman approach to the Democratic Party. I will sit with you if you support my candidacy. All we really need is to pick our own people and say, no. That we're no longer selecting from those that you tell us that we can choose from. This is our leader. If you want our vote, you vote for our guy, and maybe most of the time we may vote with you on some other issues.
Okay,
but our problem is we don't pick our own leadership. We don't train our own leadership.
Let me put this out there. Is Al Sharpton, is Mark Morial, are they our leaders? Jamal Bryant, are they our leaders?
Of course not. Because
I find them often speaking on, I see them often in the forefront when it comes to like the Boycott Friday.
If our leadership wouldn't be saying to our people, here's who you don't spend your money with, our leadership will be saying, here's where you spend your money. Our leadership will be saying, spend your money with black business, not keep it away from it. Who cares? I mean, see, that's what I mean. That's a different era. There may have been a time when the bus boycotts and boycotts of Rite Aid and maybe those and withholding money for a day or 2 days or a month from white business. Maybe that was a day when the symbolism of that was effective. That doesn't work anymore. Now we've got to, and besides that, it never. As somebody said, the dislike or hatred for white folk cannot be the basis for unity among black folk. We've got to. So the message from Sharpton and Jamal and the rest of them shouldn't be not that we stop spending money with white business, but that we find a way to invest and spend our money with other black business. And the black business who offer the one thing that everybody needs to succeed economically, and that is employment. And not just any employment, not minimum wage jobs, not for 12, but jobs that can support and maintain the family. That's what we need.
Irvin, we got black people in positions like never before. We often complain about the implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion by Trump, by Elon Musk. We're pointing out what's not equitable. Are we practicing DEI within the black community?
Absolutely, always have, especially in a place like Prince George's County. I mean, it's always, we may have black leadership, but white tend to still prosper in a way that blacks don't. And the problem, the way I see it is, and Robert hit it on the head. We go in, the party is cool, the Democratic Party is cool. We just play politics different than everyone else. The Jewish community uses the party to their benefit. We make the party our lifestyle. No, we need to go in and tell them, look, this is what we want, and if you don't do it, then we ain't voting for you. But we can't continue to vote for people and then get mad when they don't operate and do things.
Mike, are we practicing DEI within the Black community?
I think we do it very well to our detriment. Always have, right? And I'm listening to what Irvin said regarding the Democratic Party. So maybe the vote is really not as important as we thought it was when we look what happens as a result of the vote and who we get in office. And I only say that to say, sure, it's important, right? But when you look at leadership, which you alluded to first, particularly leaders in the Black community that we have, first of all, are they really our leaders, or are they bought and paid for, and their agenda is one that coincides with those that are special interests that put them in office? Let's take, for instance, a situation in Maryland. Let's take, for instance, a situation with Hakeem Jeffries. Let's look around the country at Black leadership. Does anyone have the boldness or courage to really be a Black leader? And what does that mean? What does that imply? And I'm going to ask you that question, Doni. What does it imply being a Black leader in America for Black people that are at a disadvantage immediately when they wake up, on the most part? What does that look like?
So to me,
leadership, separate but equal?
Leadership to me, I think of Malcolm, I think of Martin, I think of two people, I think of Fannie Lou Hamer, people who were willing to be out there on the front line. And I'm not saying you have to take the bullet, but you have to be willing to take the bullet. When I think of some of these so-called leaders today, they're constructed by the media. They are accepted by white America. They're accepted by the mainstream media. But do I see them out here on the streets in our communities? No, I see them on television. I don't know if you can. I don't know if a mega preacher. And I'm not just thinking about Jamal. I'm thinking about some of these other big churches. Where are you in the struggle?
Can I touch you?
Can I relate to you? When I think of Dr. King and the famous picture of him being taken on Gay Street, he was in a convertible and he was shaking people's hands. Are they willing to put their lives on the line? Because that was the leadership that brought us tears in 1965 and 1968. I was born in 65, but I know Malcolm lost his life then. I know that he was willing to go out there. You can watch Godfather of Harlem when they set the scenario of what Malcolm was dealing with. I don't know that these cats are willing to give up their Gucci, their Fendi, in order to represent us. You know, when I see Al Sharpton at the White House and he don't want to open his mouth, I can't call you my leader.
Yeah.
I can't call you my leader because my leader speaks to me. My leader is able to relate to me.
Right, absolutely.
And it's not about money. When I think of Jesse Jackson, is it about Rainbow Push? Or is it about the millions of dollars generated and making sure his children benefit also? I don't see that as a movement. I see that as a hustle.
Yeah, we're being hustled, Doni. We're being hustled. Doni, if I could mention quickly, I was in Selma, Alabama last week for the 5th straight year, right? In Selma, Alabama, to your point of our Black leaders descend on Selma every first or second Sunday in March, commemorating Bloody Sunday, March 7th, 1965, when Dr. Martin Luther King led us over the Pettus Bridge, marching to Montgomery for voter rights. So every year I see them descend. Now, Donald Trump didn't come this year like Kamala and Biden did in previous years, so things stayed on schedule, right? He didn't come. But the regular leaders that come and descend. But you know what I have an issue with, Doni? Is that our leadership comes and descends on Selma, commemorating Bloody Sunday, and we leave Selma exactly as we found Selma the year before, the year before, the year before. You know, one of the first in the state in poverty, a poor education system, no economic development plan. Streets looking the same way that they did last year. So why do I go? Which was a question at the dinner table on Sunday, as I talked about in complete disdain and disgust. Every year I come down here, nothing has changed. So would this be the epicenter of change if we all descend here on March 7th? On March 7th or 9th, whatever that Sunday falls on, that we let Selma replicate change? Go look at the pictures yourself. And so if we're willing to come somewhere where we shedded blood on a bridge and not let that economically change, what does that leave for the rest of us? It lets you know right then and there that ain't nothing gonna change.
And the reason for that is because we think the same way about the situation today as we've thought about it, and we've been taught to think about it historically. Selma hasn't changed. It's still about 20,000 people, and all the white people still live pretty much on the west side, and the black people pretty much live on the east side, and the bridge still is the dividing line. The black leaders, real black leaders, are the leaders of poor people, regardless of color. Understand what I'm saying?
Tell me who a real black leader.
I don't
Name a real black leader.
I mean, Doni named two, and they got killed for it.
I thought we talked about today.
Oh, no. I don't know any. I don't really know any today. But the thing is,
what about Hakeem Jeffries and Wes Moore?
Oh, I said I didn't know any today. Now you keep when I say none, that means none. I don't mean none with exception. I mean none. Period.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Hakeem Jeffries and Wes Moore.
They got to where they are the same way that the white people got to where they are, following the same pattern.
Okay? Is that
of course
okay?
I didn't say they were black leaders, did I?
Let me put this out there to you. Would you guys consider Willie Adams a leader?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not because he declared himself as such, not because he was recognized as such, but because of the way he lived and the things he did in our community.
Irvin Reed, would you recall on a little Willie Adams? And he ran numbers. He helped finance businesses on the avenue. His wife was the first councilwoman here in Baltimore. Would you consider him a leader?
Based on what I know about him, I would. But the other thing too, though, we elect our leaders.
No, we elect elected officials.
Okay.
To your point, Doni.
We didn't elect Malcolm or Martin.
Absolutely. You're right, Doni.
We elected Obama and we voted for Kamala.
I didn't say Kamala was a leader.
They don't lead.
Nah, Doni, to your point, Doni, Willie Adams was a leader because he invoked economic change in community and did things, and that's why they tried to lock him up. You know what I'm saying? Because whenever you have a leader that's up to making real change and not change to what the system wants us to have, they ain't gonna let him. But he survived anyway because he had enough of them in his pocket instead of the other way around.
So
Mr. Leaders, I respect highly. Get this man's book and read it, because you can't say from what I know about him, but yet we know about Wes Moore and Hakeem Jeffries. You need to understand what a true leader is in the black community, about economic development, viability, and sustainability. And he was the impetus of it in Baltimore and the black community. Please read his book, man.
Now, I want to give you a one-up on that, Mike. Have you ever heard of Tom Smith?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So before there was a Willie Adams, there was a Tom Smith. Just like before there was a Madam C.J. Walker, there was an Annie Turnbow Malone. How many people know about Annie Malone?
I do. And these are real community leaders to what you're speaking
leaders.
Of. These are leaders. This is what we need. Economic sustainability and viability. Political power is irrelevant as we see it because it does nothing for us.
Well,
But we support we support these people.
We ain't got no
That's
choice
what
in
people.
many
No, we
regards.
do have a
Let's
choice. We do have a
use our
choice.
statement.
What's your choice,
Let's
Irvin?
use our
Your
statement.
choice is not to support them at all.
That's a choice. That's a choice. That's the choice.
No, the choice is until they put somebody that's a leader up there, we're not voting for them.
They're not giving you
the no, and they never will. That's not your job.
Why would I help you overturn what I got?
Listen, it is not the job of white folk to select black folk who will change the system against them. That is the lunacy. That is the insanity of our approach. That DEI assumes, not just assumes, but presumes that those in power will keep it. That's the whole point. And once you assume that they own the world, then you can't do anything other than ask them for a piece of it. That is the problem. Our whole mentality, our mindset is that we don't have the same rights as they do. We drank from that well for years. The best way to keep somebody from escaping is to teach them that they can't do it. You don't need chains anymore. You don't need bars anymore. Once you've eliminated it's, there was a time, Donnie, when it was classified as a mental disorder for slaves to want to escape from slavery. They call it drapetomania. It was actually classified as a mental disorder. Well, guess what? That's the same mental disorder that Harriet talked about when she said, if they had known they were slaves, I could have freed more of them. It's the same mental disorder that we see today in our so-called elected officials who don't have the courage.
It's the same thing that white people who voted for Trump now see having buyer's remorse. The exact same thing.
Exactly.
So what's the answer?
The answer is we have to train our own. If you want the child to be, if you want an adult that thinks like you, you got to train them as a child. It doesn't come by intuition. It doesn't come by osmosis. They got to be trained. You can't wait for somebody to say, I want to be this, and then pass a law to make them to try to make them be what you thought they were. It should have been from the beginning. If you want practice doesn't make perfect. Mike Haney would practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. If you want the child to be the correct adult, you have to raise the child up to be what you want them to be. And we stop that means, what does that mean? That means we got to regain control of the education of our children. That's number one. We got
so there you go. So there you go. And I have a different take on it. And I've been saying it since Donald Trump was even considered. First of all, not going to jail for crimes that I know I'd be put underneath the jail. Secondly, as a result of not going to jail, they elevate this guy to the presidential office, right? Separate but equal is not a doctrine. It should be a mandate for the black community. You don't want to live by me. You don't want to live with me. Give me my percentage of taxes, which I'll contribute to the good and the whole of military, etc. Give me my own communities, just like Black Wall Street. Give me my own schools, just like we had in the 40s before Brown versus Board. And let me create my own economic viability. When you found out that you could make money off of me and my poor ass in my community, and you infiltrated my community and then told me I could come to you, but don't bring my teachers with you, right? And you changed my curricula to be your curricula. And now, so, we're fighting for the wrong thing right now. We're fighting for the wrong stuff. Conclusion is not inclusion.
And I don't want you
that we have lost. Surrender. In order to win, sometimes you got to surrender. Let us take ourselves over here. Give us this state. You all can stay there. Give us our economy, and maybe that's where we'll see victory.
No. I don't want you to give me anything. Let me finish. I don't want you to give me anything. I want you to pay your bill. I want you to pay your bill. And here's why I want you to pay your bill. Because the Constitution, whether you intended it or not, the Constitution says under the 5th and 14th Amendment that two things that we're entitled to, that the country owes us, that we've never gotten. One is due process, and the second is just compensation. You can't take somebody's property without just compensation. So rather than deal with those issues, we keep talking about what they're going to give us.
That's
No,
why
no.
they
Let me finish.
have
Let me finish.
Hakeem
Let me
Jeffries
finish.
and
Let me finish.
Westmore.
Let me finish.
You will never give
That's
reparations
right.
because Westmore
Michael Haney, you
doesn't
cut him
even
off.
agree with reparations.
I've lived long enough to believe that never can come true. I've lived long enough to believe in miracles, and my miracle, Westmore, is not my savior. Neither is Al Sharpton. Neither is Hakeem Jeffries. Neither was Kamala Harris. And certainly not Obama. They are not. I didn't pick them. Somebody told me I can choose from among them, but I didn't pick them.
I'm going to go with you. I'm willing to go with you down to Treasury because the only way we're going to get our money is to hit them in the head and take it. And sometimes that's what you got to do. And however that looks, that's fine. But when you got complicit black leaders elected, to Reed's point, that say and stay cool on reparations, it's not going to happen. That's part of the buy-off. So you're going to have to hit them in the head, whatever that looks like, and go take your money.
Whatever that looks like.
We can make it a priority to come back within our communities and reclaim grandma's house. Some of us still have access to grandma's house, but the truth of the matter is we fell for the okie doke. We fell for moving to Randallstown, Owens Mills, Bowie, and we forgot about the property we left in DC. Now it's too late in DC because Irving, all of those properties are sold up. But here in Baltimore, there are a bunch of properties here in Sandtown. But you know what? We're busy trying to impress people on Instagram, on TikTok, and we'd rather be showing pictures of us in Dubai than fixing up a shell of a house for $20,000 that's now worth $200,000 because we're not going back to the old neighborhood, not realizing that the poorest people in the black community right now are white addicts.
So we're trying to get in the mayor's office. We try and get in the mayor's office, and the real power in any city is where? City planning. That's the real power of any city planning. The red line's not going nowhere, right? Because it ain't going nowhere. And so therefore, Sandtown is safe, Harlem Park is safe, Lafayette Square is safe.
Our own people won't come back to Harlem Park.
But they don't understand.
Hey, look, we got a whole generation of people in your family and mine who will not come to North Avenue. But the white girl will come to North Avenue. Tell me about that. The white girl will come to North Avenue.
Because she's buying a bag of dope.
The gentleman, in the final analysis, the color that means most is green. Okay, it's not black, white, brown, yellow, or purple. It's green. Well, that is the color. Now let me finish my point. My point is that's why I said that the real black leaders are the leaders of poor people, not just black people. And I didn't say poor black people. I didn't say I said poor people. Period. Because in the final analysis, the only color the color that means most is green. And it's black, but black people, because we have endured, because we know how to make do, as my grandmother used to say. We know how to make do. We know how to survive in the most difficult of circumstances.
Yeah, pigtails and chitlins. Pigtails and chitlins.
We know how to make it against all odds. And when I say pay your bill, I didn't ask you to eat anything. What I asked you to do is recognize the fact.
Grandma said.
No. I said
you just told me your grandma said that.
I said she knew how to make do. I didn't say make do.
And that's do.
You said that. I didn't say nothing. And listen, and there ain't nothing wrong with eating chitlins if that's what you want to eat. Because my grandmother did eat chitlins, and she did feed me chitlins.
None of us did.
But the point is this: we will be free only when we free everybody. That's why I said the country owes black people. I didn't say white people owed us a debt. I said the country owes a debt. And when that debt's paid, there's going to be some black people that have to kick in some money too. Those blacks who have accumulated and accrued assets by using the same means and methods that white people did, guess what? They got to put some skin in that game too. They got to pay some of that money back. There were black slave owners as well. There were black people who cheated black people as well. There were black people who have oppressed black people as well. They all got to they all got to pay their share of the bill. America owes black people a debt, and until that debt is paid, ain't nothing gonna change.
Hey, look, I disagree with you.
Okay.
I disagree with you that America feels they owe. We're not going to get it until we take it. And the more we continue to focus on it, the more we lose ground. You know, we have to be free in the mind and the head. That's what's happening, right? They buy us. Our price to be bought is too low. Our value is too low. But I want to hear Mr. Reed. I'm gonna shut up. I know Mr. Reed got something to say.
No, I'm just don't under. I believe, and this is where me and Robert disagree. I believe we do control our own destiny, especially in certain places. If you look at this last election, Michigan, if we would have brought out the vote in Detroit, just like Stacey Abrams and that crew did down in Georgia, then we could have won Michigan. We could have won Ohio if we would have done the same thing. If instead of giving Oprah and Sharpton and all these people millions of dollars, give it to people that really can organize and get people out. But we don't understand that an election, it's a business opportunity. So people go to elections to make money and then to win. But we go in thinking, like I kept trying to tell everybody that I know, Kamala couldn't win. She couldn't win. And nobody was trying to take their millions that they were making to get the black vote out so that we can win. We need to understand how this thing works. And if we keep waiting for black America to educate us, white America to educate us or do this for us, we're never going to get there. We need to look in the mirror and say, it's on us. It ain't on white folk. It ain't about racist folk. We have a black president that everybody loves. And I'm like,
I'm listening, Irvin, to see what it is that I said that you disagree with, because you are repeating exactly what I said.
No, you said that our leaders are given to us. No, we don't know that we have to vote for somebody. We don't have to vote. We don't have to vote for Kamala. She's been one of the worst. She's been just as bad.
Erwin, I said we gotta nurture and raise and select our own. That all we've been given is a choice of choosing between some people that somebody else selected. We're saying the same thing.
No, I'm saying you do have a choice. You have a choice to write somebody in to vote who the hell you want to vote
for. Irvin, when you say that, those people do not win. They don't even get close to winning.
But sometimes, Donnie, you got to step back to go forward. And what I'm saying to you is,
when you get an election, when you manage a candidate, you are not managing for second place. You're managing to win.
Yeah, but Donnie, I'm not voting for somebody and then complain about if they don't make a difference. That's all I'm saying. If you vote for somebody, they don't make a difference, you're part of the damn problem as far as I'm concerned. I'm not voting for somebody that I don't think is going to make a difference. No, I'm not doing it. I'll write somebody else in.
Irvin, how do you get somebody to the point where you can write their name? How do you know whose name to write in? Where did they come from? They don't just come out of the sky. This is why I say we're really saying the same thing. You're just looking at it at different points in time. To have a name to write in, that's got to be a name that we know. That's got to be somebody that we raised. That's got to be somebody that we trained. We just can't pull a name. We just can't pull a name out of the phone book and write it in.
Why did Marion Barry not lose? Because he already had a relationship with the people. And the truth is, we get caught up with these superficial ass leaders who don't know where Petey Green's UPO Center is in Southeast. They don't know where Umar Boxing is on North Avenue. They're not a part of the black community, but they're easily able to navigate those other areas where black people don't tend to go, like the Center Club, you know, some of those upwardly mobile places at Woodmore Country Club, but they got soft in the process. And they would get robbed over in North and Greenmount because nobody knows them.
But you support them. You vote for them. You support them, and then you complain when they don't make a difference. That's what I don't understand. What I'm telling you is, I'm not voting for anybody that's not going to make a difference.
You understand, right? That's why you like Calvin Hawkins over Aisha Brave, boy. Even though you know that girl was going to spank his ass.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah,
you knew that. You knew the numbers. You a mathematician. Don't play her.
No, they told me Wayne Curry had no shot in losing Doni. He won. They told me
that was a different race.
No, but they saying he couldn't win. Yeah, there are a lot of they said that Angela also Brooks couldn't become state's attorney. She was fifth in a race of five.
We have all lived long enough to see nevers come true, but we still make never our mantra. We still start off every conversation about change, not talking about what we can change, but talking about what we can't. That is our problem. There is eliminate the word can't from your vocabulary. And Mike is right. By whatever means are necessary, that's how we got to do it. We got to eliminate. Everything is on the table. Sometimes when I used to negotiate labor contracts, sometimes I'd negotiate by jumping up and down on the table, and sometimes I talk at a whisper. You could hardly hear me because I changed. Because you start with the end in mind. The race is not won by how you run. The race is run by who crosses the finish line first.
We have to start pointing out those individuals who, when they don't do what they're supposed to do, we need to point that out and hold them accountable. And
how do we hold them accountable? How do we hold our leaders accountable? How do we hold a Mark Morial, who has been running the National Urban League for 20 years, accountable?
We start pointing it out.
When is he going to pass the damn ball? It's the National Urban League. It's not Mark's Urban League. The NAACP, a 64-member board, what can they effectively accomplish? A contest, AXO, some acting, some dancing, some entertainment. What can we effectively do with a 64-member board?
But see, Donnie, you missed the deal. Their agenda is not lined up to the agenda that the community needs. That's not their agenda, is the agenda that we talked about. Their agenda is to continue to make themselves and their organizations for themselves richer. So, and they use that platform for that. Their agenda is not aligned to the Black community's agenda. That's why Willie Adams and Thomas Smiths were important to our communities when they thrived. And when we employed people, and when we had money movement, even though it was numbers money in Harlem, moving.
I'm telling you, underground money served us better than this so-called legal money, just like it served the Kennedys. So a lot of times we are miseducated.
That's what we need. That's the kind of money that moves. What I hope that what we finally say and see in the upcoming, not the midterms, we got to do something in the midterms, but the next presidential election, what damn difference does it make who is in the White House to us? What difference does it make if our own economy is moving? I hope that we say, guess what? We're not going to vote. We are not going to vote as a demographics. We're not going to vote. And that vote translates into that third party that Bob is talking about automatically. And now we can get some things done. So Donnie, why can't you run for mayor of Sandtown? Why can't you create your own political dynamic so that we're voting for people that really have something to do within our community?
Because you don't think you can win, and as long as you
I think Donnie can win running for mayor.
Donnie just said Donnie doesn't think he can win, and that's the problem.
Donnie didn't say that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Donnie just said it 10 minutes ago. He said he can't win because independents don't win. That's what he said. That's what I heard him say. And the minute you start off saying what you can't do, you've already lost.
You've never heard
I think Bob has gone to the wrong cannabis store in the wrong section of town and needs to get his CBD from Sandtown. Do you have any CBD stores down there?
We got plenty of cannabis for you.
No, but you understand what I'm saying from the standpoint of systemic opportunities from a business perspective that we don't get.
I wasn't raised from my can. I am an African, not an African.
This is all part, but this is what I'm talking about when you talk about viability and us being discluded, but we told to vote. Hey, vote, 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 vote. And yet we're not included as part of the process, even in our own communities of having. So they lock the kids up selling weed to Bob and to the rest of you.
Only to open a dispensary down the street.
Absolutely. And it doesn't necessarily correlate to who it is the community represents. And that's all I'm saying. So who the hell are you voting for?
I say, where are we spending our dollars? I was very proud of us that Friday, and I wish that we had a deeper knowledge of the Montgomery bus boycotts, where we did that boycott for 365 days plus.
You mean not roll the bus? Rosa Parks?
Yeah. We were closer together. But to see, the thing is, and then I want to go back to, are we practicing DEI in our own community? I think we are not. I think that now that we got blacks, hold up, Mike. Now that we got blacks in every major position, not just governor, Speaker of the House, treasurer, we got the largest black caucus in the country in Maryland, Baltimore, you got top positions, Prince George, you got top positions. Are we practicing equity and inclusion within our own community? And I'm telling you, we're not. I'm telling you, get some Negroes in there who become gatekeepers.
It's not our position to elect them there.
First of all, we got to stop using. We got to stop using terms without defining them and assuming that they mean the same thing to everybody who uses them. I've never heard. Let me.
Black people.
For example, I've never heard anybody define what diversity is. I'll tell you what it means. It means
uptown blacks with downtown blacks. Blacks in Owens Mills hanging with blacks in Sandtown, without blacks in Owens Mills thinking that they have arrived, or without blacks in Sandtown thinking they can't up their game because they're hanging with a cat whose English is a little more proper than theirs. Diversity, equity, inclusion.
Diversity. First of all, diversity.
Bullpen when we all in there like sardines.
Donnie, first of all, you ought to understand that diversity means diversity. The real beneficiaries of diversity are the same as the real beneficiaries of the so-called MBE program, white women. Okay, let's be clear about that. That's who's benefited
MBE
from so-called. If you look at the report from the state of Maryland, the majority of the dollars that the state records going to minority business has gone to firms that were supposedly owned by white women. If you look at DEI across the country, you will see that the majority of positions filled through DEI are filled by white women. So let's stop using it. Let's not promulgate and perpetuate the lie, the myth that somehow or another those things were created to or have had the effect of benefiting black folk. That's why they went along with them. The people.
But I thought that you were the successful MBE attorney. Anybody black that wanted to deal black business, they come to you.
Stop being a distraction, Michael Haney. Let him finish. Michael Haney, I'll mute you. Come on, Mr. DeShield.
I remember, I'll tell you about the MBE program and an argument that I had in 1978 or so with a former senator named Bob Douglas, owned a company called Baltimore Electronics, started off as a math teacher somewhere in the Baltimore City's public school system. We sat in his office when House Bill 64 was first introduced. And the issue was, how should we define minority? Because let me remind you, it was only black people standing around. He said, well, if we don't expand the definition to include white women, If we don't expand the definition to include what that time was called Eskimos, if we don't expand the definition to include, and I said to him, I said, well, Robert, if we include all those other damn groups, what's going to be left for us? Well, if we don't include them, we ain't going to get anything. And I said, well, if I ain't going to get nothing, I'd rather get it straight up. Don't lie to me. Don't try to cut. And what has happened? The Supreme Court has taken that very principle and turned it around and applied it against us. They said because your program is based on some sort of social or some sort of diversity, some sort of societal discrimination, and it's not quantifiable. You don't have an end. You can't tell me when it's supposed to end. You can't tell me when equality is supposed to be achieved. You can't even define equality, then therefore it's unconstitutional. I'm telling you.
Who are your favorite black leaders?
Go ahead. Until we claim what is ours, and that claim is not based upon what white folks have given us. Our ownership in this country did not begin with the 14th Amendment. It did not begin with the 13th Amendment. It began the same way the people who claimed ownership today got it, when their feet hit the ground.
Irvin, who was your favorite black leader?
Go ahead.
Who was my favorite black leader?
Yeah. Since we don't have no black leaders today, who are you most proud with from our past?
Perrin Mitchell.
Yes.
Wayne Curry.
Amen. I didn't know Wayne that well.
No, what Wayne couldn't do, what Marion Barry gets credit for, what he also had a real progressive council. So the Charlene Drew Jarvises and the Harry Thomas and them, they also thought like Marion. Wayne had to fight because he also had Miller and a bunch of council members that were afraid. So there's only so much you can do. Marion had people that followed him on the council as well. That's why
Mike Miller that said he was going to cut your testicles off.
Yeah, yep, he the one that did cut him off. So, he did what he had to do. And I don't have a problem with him because that's the game. Our problem isn't that our leaders, we don't play the game the way we need to play the game. With Marion, he didn't need laws to change and create millionaires. He just played the game. Can't get a meeting winner for 3 months unless you black. And then, so guess what white boys start doing? They start hiring blacks. And then he made them, instead of a $100 million deal being $100 million deal, he made it a $110 million deal and said, I'm going to push it through faster, but $10 million going over there to that black company. And, you don't need to change the law. You need to play the game. But to play the game, you got to understand the game. And that's what we don't.
Did Maynard Jackson do the same thing?
He did. Yeah. He did.
What I'm saying and politically, we don't play the game. We don't understand that when Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are going to South Carolina for the vote during that presidential election, we got an idiot in there that don't even meet with Bernie, but cuts a deal with Hillary. And then we praise this fool all the time. All I'm saying is the black
his name, Clyburn?
Yeah, Clyburn. He never even met with Bernie. I remember when Wayne Curry and Kirk Smoke wouldn't support Glendenny for re-election. And it wasn't until Bill Clinton, the president, threatened their HUD funds and other funding that they supported the guy. And what Wayne told me, he said, look, Irvin, I'm not supporting this guy until we cut a deal for education for Baltimore and Prince George's County. We're not Mississippi. Yeah.
Irvin, what was the commonality between Wayne Curry and Kurt Smoke?
Well, they both were
Larry Gibson. That was the commonality.
Yeah,
okay?
Larry Gibson. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But the point I'm making, Wayne's thing was this. He said, once we cut a deal with Glendenny, then I'm going to go meet with Sauerbrey and see if I can cut an even better deal. This ain't about politics. This is about people. And that's what we don't do. We sit around and I listen all the time. People praising, well, Obama this, Obama that. If you voted for Obama, you're part of the problem. Man, I'm not sitting around here voting for no damn Kamala Harris. That woman that locked us up and did all that because we can't afford. No, a lot of us can't afford to have Kamala. A lot of us can't afford to have Trump.
And we can afford Trump? Help me out, Irvin. You saying you would take Trump over Kamala?
I can't take Kamala. What Kamala did to me.
Would you take Trump over Kamala?
I would, Donnie. I'm saying I would, and I'm telling you why. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because Kamala is the worst thing ever. The worst thing that happened to Black people in my lifetime, as far as I'm concerned, is a crime bill. That crime bill wasn't with Reagan. It wasn't with Bush. That was with Clinton. When we put Black people in positions and they don't stand up, then that just keeps that hurts even worse. That whole Obama thing crushed a lot of people that had hope. A lot of people now, they don't vote, they don't care, they could care less. So all I'm saying, when you put somebody in a position, understand what it is that you're doing.
We saying Obama was too much with the LGBTQ than with Black people?
No, I'm saying Barack Obama was part of a system that we have. He's a part of that system, like a lot of our Black leadership.
Oh, you mean
and
like
you're supporting them?
Like Rhodes Scholars?
No, this has nothing to do with Rhodes Scholars as far as I'm concerned. This has to do with the way this nation works. And you're either going to be a part of it or you're not. But if you're going to make change, you're going to have, somebody's got to say, okay, we ain't voting for the Democrats anymore. Eventually, guess what? Then they're going to start.
No, you can't just not vote for somebody. You got to do something.
Donnie, I don't know about Baltimore, but in D.C., they got a place where you can write somebody in. Now, I'm not saying don't vote. I'm saying
Has that worked? Has that worked?
But Donnie, what is it working now? What is insanity, Donnie? Doing the same damn thing, expecting a different a solution. No, the thing is, we can't continue to go down this path thinking that things are going to change.
I think it's time we go to the United Nations. The entire world is sick of this president who is disrupting the world economy. Did you see
Donnie, how you going to go to the United Nations when there's 5 countries that got permanent members of the Security Council to have a veto of everything that happens?
We better get to the United Nations.
Look at what happens at why? We don't care what happens at the United Nations.
The dynamics are changing day by day.
There are 5 permanent members of the Security Council, and they all have veto power over even resolutions. Why do you think they've never adopted a resolution that condemns Israel for anything? Because United States vetoes it every time it comes up.
Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
What happened to Mike? Okay. My final thought is
Michael.
Okay.
Yeah, because you muted me because you always threaten me. But then, when you are a threat to people, then people threaten you with their power. So
I'm not going to let you.
Hey, so you interrupted me. So shut up. Let me finish, like you said.
I didn't tell you shut up. I didn't speak to you like that.
The truth to the power that's in front of me because it's your damn show, and that's exactly what we do on a national front. Hey, go ahead and interrupt me because that's the correlation between what I'm saying.
Don't be ignorant.
That's what I'm saying. Is when you have a voice and you want to say something, people shut you up. And that shows the power. But it's all good. I enjoy this conversation with my brothers, and when we fix our internal conflicts, we can go out in the world united, even with our differences, and make a difference in our community. And we haven't figured that out yet. You haven't figured it out. Bob, Erwin, and I have work to do on that front. Because we all do.
We all do. We all
Mike,
do.
what did you think when you saw
my own self on mute? I'll mute my damn self.
Mike, what did you think when you saw your Mason brothers crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge singing? I'm not sure what the song was. We shall overcome.
What did I think when I crossed the Pettus Bridge with my Mason brothers and with other brothers and sisters down there? Ask me that question because I was at the front of that line. So ask me the right question, Mr. Media Man.
Now, I asked my daddy, was he in a protest? He said he wasn't letting no dogs bite him. Mr. DeShield, back there. I'll mute you. Slow down, boy. Mr. DeShield, where were you, Mr. DeShield? I'm asking him a question.
Well, we have had the courage 60 years ago to walk that bridge 2 weeks ago, 60 years ago, knowing that there were dogs on the other side, fighting for people who we don't know, like you, like Bob, like me, will we have had the courage? That's the question we asked this time.
Mr.
And
Nashil,
most
when the
of us
protests were going on during,
honestly said we didn't know. Because
Mr.
that's
Nashil,
where
when
we
the,
are today,
I
and
can't.
dogs ain't biting us in the ass, and we still scared.
okay, Mr. Nashil, when those dogs were out there in the fire hoses, were you out there marching?
No, sir.
Yeah, my dad was with you.
I was not there, and I don't know whether I would have been. I don't know whether I would have had the courage at that time to be
That's
out there.
real.
That's why I don't criticize anybody who's come before me who survived, because they came before me and they survived. And some of those folks, I wouldn't be here without them, biologically or otherwise. So I'm not going to criticize. What I'm going to do is take what they left and do the best I can with it. But as somebody said, if you don't know where you're going, you're not on any path will take you there. But more importantly, if you don't know where you're going, you won't know when you arrive. And that's our problem. Our problem is we don't define for ourselves what does the end look like? What does equality look like? Who's going to be in charge? Who's going to decide who's going to be in charge? Who's going to decide who's going to decide who's in charge? Those are the ultimate questions. And until we address those questions, look, I say again, if you want right thinking adults, if you want right thinking black folk, it's not going to happen by osmosis or intuition. They got to be raised and trained that way. Every other culture, every other people has a mission that's dedicated simply to training their children in their history, in their culture, in the knowledge of who they are. We have to have the same thing, and that's what's missing.
Irvin Reed, any final thought before we go?
No, I just, I appreciate you and this show for allowing, a voice that others won't allow, and that hopefully, that someday we'll understand that, in my opinion, that where we're going is on us. And we look in the mirror and take responsibility for ourselves. And then once we do that, we can make a difference. I believe we can make a difference. And, but we can't continue to do the same thing expecting something different.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning, world.
Peace out.